Her hand lingered on the doorknob when I said it. The words had slipped out too easily, sharp and deliberate. "Tell Mark I said hi." It was supposed to sound like a joke, but the way her body stiffened told me she didn't take it that way. Her knuckles turned white around the handle, and for a moment, she didn't move. Then she turned halfway, just enough for me to see her face, the quick flash of panic in her eyes, gone as fast as it appeared. "What?" she asked, her tone light, almost too casual. I smiled faintly. "Nothing. Just saying have fun tonight." She forced a laugh. "You're ridiculous, Ethan." And then she was gone. The door clicked shut, leaving behind an echo I couldn't shake. The living room fell silent except for the rhythmic ticking of the clock on the wall. I stared at it for a long time, wondering why those 3 words, "Tell Mark I said hi," felt like I had just pulled a pin from a grenade. Mark. Her new co-worker. The one she'd mentioned every day for the past month. The one who made the long meetings bearable. The one she'd laughed about at dinner while scrolling through her phone. I used to think it was harmless, the way she said his name, until last week, when she started hiding her screen when I walked into the room. Still, I didn't want to believe it. Not her. Not after 8 years of marriage. But tonight, when she told me not to wait up, something inside me cracked. At 10:17 p.m., I was still sitting in the dark, the television screen reflecting off the empty glass in my hand. She had texted earlier. "Dinner ran late. Heading out for drinks. Don't wait up, love." The heart felt mechanical, like a signature added to maintain normalcy. I poured another drink. My thoughts were heavy, looping between denial and clarity. Every memory felt like a piece of a puzzle that didn't fit anymore. Late-night work calls, perfume that wasn't hers, sudden changes in her passwords. At 11:45, I gave in. I picked up my phone, opened the tracking app I'd installed months ago when she'd first grown distant, and watched the small blue dot settle in place, not near the restaurant she'd mentioned, but across town, near the old Riverside motel. The air in my lungs thinned. My hands trembled as I stared at the glowing screen. I shouldn't have gone. I knew that even as I grabbed my jacket. But something deeper than logic took over, something primal, aching, desperate for truth. The streets were quiet, the kind of quiet that feels accusatory. My headlights cut through the fog as I turned into the gravel driveway of the Riverside Inn. A lone sign flickered above the entrance, humming faintly. I parked across the street, engine off, watching. My chest felt tight, my heartbeat pulsing in my ears. And then I saw it, her car, parked near the far end, by the back stairwell. The windshield glimmered faintly under the yellow light. Minutes passed before the door opened. She stepped out, wrapped in the same beige coat she'd worn when she left home. Her hair was slightly tousled, her cheeks flushed. A man followed. Mark. He brushed her hand as they walked to her car. She hesitated, smiled up at him, and said something I couldn't hear. Then he leaned in and kissed her. Not a friendly kiss. Not a goodbye for now kiss. A kiss that belonged to someone she once used to be with. Someone who wasn't me. The sound that escaped my throat was small, broken, like air leaving a punctured balloon. I gripped the steering wheel until my knuckles hurt. For a moment, I wanted to rush over, to shout, to demand an explanation. But instead, I stayed still, trapped between rage and heartbreak, watching her betrayal unfold like a scene from a movie I couldn't stop. When they finally parted, she got in her car and sat there for a moment before driving off. I followed from a distance, headlights dimmed. She didn't go home right away. She drove aimlessly, looping through quiet streets before finally turning into our driveway. It was past 1 a.m. when she slipped inside the house. I waited 10 more minutes before I followed. The lights in the hallway were still on. She was in the bathroom, brushing her teeth, humming softly to herself. I stood in the doorway, silent, watching her reflection in the mirror. "Hey," I said. She jumped slightly, the toothbrush slipping from her mouth. "Oh my God, you scared me." "Long night?" I asked. She hesitated, eyes flicking to mine through the mirror. "Yeah. Work dinner turned into drinks. You know how it is." I nodded slowly. "Yeah. I know exactly how it is." She laughed nervously, rinsed her mouth, and turned to face me. You're acting weird. Am I? Yeah. What's wrong? I held up my phone. The tracking app was still open, her location pinned near the motel. Her eyes followed the screen, and her face drained of color. Ethan, she began, voice trembling. Don't, I said quietly. Just, don't. She stepped closer. I can explain. No, you can't. The silence that followed was suffocating. We ended up in the living room, sitting across from each other, the clock ticking again like it was mocking us. Tears glistened in her eyes, but I could see the calculation behind them, the scramble for a believable lie. Mark's going through a divorce, she said finally. He needed someone to talk to. It got complicated. Complicated, I repeated. That's what you call it. Her voice cracked. I didn't mean for it to happen. I just felt lonely. You've been distant, and I cut her off. Don't make this about me. She covered her face with her hands. I made a mistake. I'm so sorry, Ethan. I leaned back, feeling every muscle in my body tighten. A mistake is spilling coffee. What you did was a choice. Her shoulders shook, and for the first time, I realized she wasn't crying because she loved me. She was crying because she got caught. When I finally spoke again, my voice was steady, colder than I thought possible. I saw you. At the motel. Her head snapped up, her mouth opening and closing wordlessly. I know what I saw, I said. So, here's what's going to happen. Tomorrow, you're going to pack your things and leave. You don't get to explain it away or fix it. You made your choice. She sobbed quietly, whispering my name, but I stood and walked upstairs without looking back. In our bedroom, the scent of her perfume still lingered on the sheets. It made me sick. I stripped the bed, opened the window, and sat on the floor until the first light of dawn touched the edge of the curtain. Somewhere downstairs, I heard her moving, packing, crying softly. By the time I came down, the front door was open, her suitcase by her side. She looked at me one last time, eyes red and swollen. I never wanted to hurt you, she said. I nodded once. But you did. She left without another word. As the door closed behind her, the house fell quiet again. Only the clock remained, ticking endlessly, marking the moment when love finally died. I sat there, staring at the empty space where she once stood, and whispered to no one. Tell Mark I said hi.